7-3. Now you all know, do you see why we only have 3 chapters to cover? Because they're so dense.
Is chapter easier?
I would say yeah, just because you don't have the, like, I would say it's easier because you don't have the simplifying, proving. No, I didn't. Well, I find it easier than 7-1 because I know when I'm done, because it has to match the other side. 7-1 was where you just have to take a single expression and manipulate it. All right, let's look at this one. We've got prove this. There's one similar to this in the homework. When you first look at it, you probably can't really decide what side needs to be manipulated because they do look very similar. I went with the left-hand side because the left-hand side has secant in it and the right-hand side has just cosine. So I took that as my indication that I'm going to manipulate the left-hand side, but my goal, right, is this. This is my goal, is to get the right-hand side. Now, this does have a T. If that bothers you, you could change it to X. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the left-hand side. So we have secant of T minus 1 over T times secant of T. I draw my T with a little, like, curl at the bottom so I don't accidentally think it's a plus sign. Okay, so the first thing you're going to naturally do is replace secant with whatever secant is. What's secant? 1 over cosine. So I'm going to replace this with 1 over cosine so I can actually see what I'm working with here. So I've got 1 over cosine T, then minus 1. Notice where I put the minus 1. That 1 is a whole number understood to be over 1. Well, now it's in line with a fraction, so I wrote it kind of superscript so that I'll remember that this 1 is not a fraction yet, and it's just plain old 1, and a big fraction bar, and then this would be T times secant is 1 over cosine T. So when you do that, obviously, now it's an absolute mess. We have a fraction minus not a fraction, big fraction bar, and then a fraction in the bottom. Okay, so this is where you want to clean it up to where you have just a fraction over a fraction because the goal is, thank you, keep, change, flip. So make a note to yourself. You know, when you've got like fractions within fraction, okay, the goal is to have just a fraction, big fraction bar, fraction, and I'm going to draw an arrow so we can keep, change, oh please fit, flip. Okay, so that's the goal. Seniors, you got an important email with final voting for senior superlatives and a Google form for senior and baby quotes, senior quotes, baby pictures, and it possibly more. My watch only shows me so much. So check your email today and flex. All right, so that's the goal, is to have just a fraction all over another fraction so that we can keep, change, flip, and get rid of these redundant fractions. I can't do that until I have a single fraction in the top. So that tells me that I need this to be, we need a single fraction here. So that means we're going to have to get a common denominator. All right, well, it's really simple to see what the denominator needs to be. It needs to be what? Cosine. So I'm going to multiply this 1, or just change the 1, right? Anytime you have the number 1, you don't really have to multiply it by anything. You could just rewrite the 1 as what you needed it to be. We need it to be what? Cosine. So we're going to rewrite it as cosine over cosine. All right, because isn't anything over itself completely? Isn't that just a big old fat fancy 1? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to take my pencil so that I don't have 16 lines here. And I'm going to erase this 1, change color to make it stand out. I'm going to rewrite this as cosine t over cosine t. Now I can take that top mess and I can write it as a cohesive single fraction. Remember, we are just subtracting, so don't change the bottom. Now you have to be careful here. I'm going to draw my really big fraction bar so I don't forget where I am. I'm going to write the top. I have 1 minus cosine t over cosine t. Now on the bottom, the only really way to clean this up, and this is just up to you, is this is understood to be over 1. So you could just multiply that t to the top of that little fraction right there. And now I have a fraction over a fraction, which means I can keep, change, flip. Okay? Make a note. Or not make a note, just watch. Red means wrong, so don't write this. Please don't come in here and do that. And then say that that's 1 over cosine. Don't do that, okay? The reason why you cannot do that is the t on top is just a t. The t on the bottom is the of part, cosine of t. You can't cancel those. And if you did cancel it, when you went and wrote what's left, you should be like cosine of what? Like, and there's nothing there. So that's how you know, like, wait a minute, you can't cancel that. So be careful there. It is common because, especially if it's a different variable, people just see that and they think, oh, I can cancel. Can't do that. Also can't do it here because that top one is attached to the 1 in the front by subtraction. So that's like that's a entity. You can't just come in and take off what you want. All right, we're going to keep, change, flip. Keep it. Change it. Flip it. Ah. What happens? This one will cancel with this one. That's allowed. And then if I just multiply straight across, what have I ended with? What have I ended with? The right-hand side. That means I'm done. Your expectation. You have flex if you're still here at flex. I know some of you leave. You need to make progress through the 8 practice problems so that tomorrow we could maybe, like if everybody's done with the first 3, we could go ahead and put the answers on the board and you can check it. We also tomorrow will start looking at the review packet, which is already posted, by the way. But I'm going to hand it to you, a printout.